On April 1st, 2026, Apple turns 50 years old. 50 years since two young men, a visionary dreamer and a quiet engineering genius, signed a piece of paper in a garage and decided to change the world.
Today, over 2 billion people carry their creation in their pockets. Tonight, Sir Paul McCartney is playing at Apple Park. The Beatles once couldn't be on iTunes. Now, they're headlining Apple's birthday.
That is what happens when you refuse to accept the world as it is. But to understand where Apple stands today, you have to go back to the moments when it almost didn't. The choke points, the forks in the road, the decisions that made history out of what could have been a footnote.
It was April Fool's Day, 1976, and the joke, as it turned out, was on everyone who didn't believe. In a garage in Los Altos, California, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne signed the founding document of Apple Computer.
Wozniak was the engineering wizard, a man who could build computers with fewer chips than anyone thought possible. Jobs was the dreamer, who saw not what technology was, but what it could make people feel. Wayne, the cautious third partner, would soon sell his 10% stake back for $800, one of history's most expensive decisions. But in that garage, nobody knew what they held. They only knew they wanted to build something beautiful, something personal.
Wozniak had already handcrafted the Apple I, a bare circuit board, no case, no keyboard included. It was raw genius in component form, and a local retailer named Paul Terrell at the Bite Shop was about to give them their first choke point.
Paul Terrell walked into a homebrew computer club meeting in 1976. He heard Wozniak describe the Apple I, and he did something nobody else had done. He placed an order. 50 units, fully assembled, not in kit form.
That $50,000 lifeline let Jobs and Wozniak hire help, buy parts, and deliver. Then came the Apple II in 1977, the world's first truly successful mass-market personal computer. It had color graphics. It had a proper plastic case. It was designed for everyone.
Schools bought it. Families bought it. Businesses bought it. The Apple II would generate hundreds of millions in revenue and fund the entire next decade. By 1980, Apple's IPO made more millionaires in a single day than any IPO in Silicon Valley history. From a garage to Wall Street in 4 years. But the real revolution was still waiting, and it would arrive not with a product launch, but with a 60-second television commercial. On January 22, 1984, during the Super Bowl, 60 Seconds rewrote marketing history. Directed by Ridley Scott, the man behind Blade Runner, Apple's 1984 commercial showed a dystopian gray world shattered by a single woman with a hammer. The screen exploded. The Macintosh had arrived. Apple's board had nearly canceled the ad. They thought it was too risky, too dark, too strange. Jobs fought to keep it. The Mac itself was something the world had never seen. A graphical user interface, a mouse, icons you could click. It made computing human. It made computing joyful. A child could understand it. That was the point. Not features, not specs, empowerment. The Mac was the first computer that truly felt like it belonged to you. It planted a seed of loyalty, of identity, that 50 years later still runs deep in the hearts of hundreds of millions of people worldwide. In 1985, Steve Jobs was pushed out of the company he had built. Apple spent the next 12 years wandering. Revenues collapsed, market share evaporated. By 1997, Apple was 90 days from bankruptcy. In a desperate move, the board bought Next, Jobs' startup, for $429 million. And with it, they got Jobs back. He walked into his first all-hands meeting and told 4,000 stunned employees, "The products suck. There's no sex in them anymore." He killed dozens of product lines. He simplified. He focused. Then came the iMac in 1998, translucent, colorful, designed by a young British designer named Jony Ive. It looked like nothing that had ever been called a computer. It sold 350,000 units in its first 5 weeks. Apple went from a $300 million loss to a $300 million profit in a single year. The wilderness was over. The Renaissance had begun.
October 2001. The world was still reeling from 9/11, and Steve Jobs walked on stage and said, "This is the most important thing I've ever done." He reached into his jeans pocket and pulled out a small white rectangle. 1,000 songs in your pocket.
The iPod was not the first MP3 player, but it was the first one that felt like a gift. The click wheel was intuitive, the form was perfect, and iTunes, the software that let you legally buy single songs for 99 cents, changed the music industry forever.
Jobs personally flew to New York, sat across the table from the CEOs of every major record label, and convinced them one by one. He showed them the alternative: piracy. They signed. The iTunes Store launched in April 2003. In its first week, it sold 1 million songs.
In its first year, 70 million. The iPod became a cultural phenomenon. Those white earbuds became a symbol of a generation. But Jobs wasn't finished. He was already building something much, much bigger.
January 9th, 2007, Steve Jobs took the stage at Macworld and said, "Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything." Then he introduced the iPhone, an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator all in one.
No stylus, no physical keyboard, just glass and touch and intelligence. The carriers told him Apple would never be allowed to control the phone experience. He negotiated anyway. The manufacturer said a glass touchscreen phone couldn't survive daily use. He shipped it anyway.
The critics called it overpriced. The public bought every unit in stock on day one. The iPhone didn't just create a new product category, it eliminated entire industries while creating new ones. The App Store launched in 2008 and turned a phone into a platform. Today, there are nearly 2 million apps available. Developers have earned over $320 billion through it. In 2023 alone, the App Store facilitated over $1 trillion in commerce. The iPhone is the most successful consumer product in human history. When Steve Jobs passed away on October 5, 2011, many believed Apple's era of innovation had ended with him. They were wrong. Tim Cook, the supply chain maestro who had quietly built Apple's manufacturing empire, stepped forward.
Under Cook, Apple didn't just maintain its greatness, it multiplied it. The iPad defined a new category. Apple Watch became the world's best-selling watch, period, outselling the entire Swiss watch industry combined. AirPods invented the truly wireless earbud market.
And then came the decision that would secure Apple's independence for the next half-century, the Apple Silicon transition. In 2020, Apple stopped using Intel chips and began making its own, the M1, M2, M3, M4. These chips were faster, more efficient, and more powerful than anything the industry had seen.
They were designed in Cupertino, manufactured by TSMC, and embedded Apple's soul directly into its hardware. Tim Cook built Apple Park, the most expensive corporate headquarters in history, a perfect circle of glass and steel where 17,000 people come to think different every single day. In 2024, Apple entered the age of artificial intelligence on its own terms. Apple Intelligence arrived not as a chatbot or a gimmick, but as a deeply personal system woven invisibly into every device. It writes, it summarizes, it translates in real time, live, in your ear, across dozens of languages. It generates images, it understands context, and it does most of this on your device, never sending your private data to the cloud. As Tim Cook told the world, privacy is a fundamental human right, and we will never compromise it for convenience. Meanwhile, the Apple Vision Pro opened a door to spatial computing, a category Apple has spent nearly a decade quietly inventing. It is the Mac of 1984 for a new generation, strange, alien, obviously visionary. By 2026, iOS 26, macOS Tahoe, and Vision OS have converged into a single, seamless intelligence layer around the lives of billions of people.
Apple didn't just keep up with the AI revolution. Apple defined how the AI revolution should treat human beings.
50 years ago, it started with a piece of paper, a garage, and a belief so stubbornly optimistic it bordered on delusion that technology could be beautiful, that computers were not just machines for corporations, but tools for individuals, that the right tool in the right hands could change the world.
In 5 decades, Apple has shipped the personal computer, the graphical interface, the digital music revolution, the smartphone, the tablet, the smart watch, the wireless earbud, spatial computing, and privacy-first artificial intelligence. It has become the world's most valuable company, not by building the most, but by obsessing over every detail of the least. Tonight, as Sir Paul McCartney plays Let It Be under the California stars, surrounded by the people who build and love and live with Apple every day, there is something undeniable in the air. It is not nostalgia. It is not sentiment.
It is the feeling of watching an idea that was laughed at, nearly destroyed, exiled and reborn, still standing, still building, still thinking different. Here's to the next 50. Thinking different has always been at the heart of Apple. It's what has driven us to create products that empower people to express themselves, to connect, and to create something wonderful.